And for more on this and more reaction, I'm pleased to say we can bring in Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, great to have you here. I will say my X feed was full of people pretty angry that we send billions to Ukraine without checks and balances, and yet we can't get money to help people, our own citizens. What do you make of that?
They should be angry. First, look to everybody in North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. There's loss of life in Georgia. I know for my colleagues, Kat Kamek, Neil Dunn, Gus Bilirakis, Anna Polina Luna, massive flooding in the Big Bend area and west coast of Florida. There's damage everywhere. And the problem we have is that we have these bureaucratic responses from FEMA. Everybody doesn't just chip in and do what needs to be done immediately so that communities can get back on track. Yet, like you said, we'll send $200 billion over to Ukraine with little ability to actually track what is happening and why. And it's very frustrating as a member of Congress because we have the resources. Well, Frank, to be blunt, we're borrowing the resources from the future. So if you're going to do that for other countries, let's make sure people get what they need immediately to restore these communities as quickly as we can.
You mentioned FEMA. They are trying to work with Starlink on some search and rescue. Elon Musk saves the day again. Right. How important are private-public partnerships in moments like these? Incredibly
important. I think what most people don't realize is that most of the federal government at this point is contracted out to businesses all across the country that do various things. So it is very important. Elon Musk, Starlink, that was actually brought into my district 2 years ago when we were hit with Hurricane Ian. And it was Fort Myers Beach that looked like the same devastation as in Asheville, North Carolina today and other communities in the mid-Atlantic states. So I think it's very important that we have those private companies who are willing to step up and step in with their technology. I think on a broader level, as we start talking about disaster recovery going forward, they talked about water. It's going to take them several weeks. One of the things that we got to really just get done and stop playing around is make sure that we have portable electricity systems that can be dropped into these disaster areas so you can get these other key services back up and running. This is why many congressional offices, including mine, we believe it's time to really move forward with micro nuclear reactors, small modular nuclear reactors that can be deployed into disaster areas so you can get the necessary energy that you need
it's a big part of
to get everything
effort.
up and running.
Great point. President Trump is in Georgia today, not to campaign, but to talk to people who have been impacted by the storms and the flooding, and you know, people who have lost loved ones potentially. Kamala Harris was in Nevada campaigning last night. She's back in D.C. She's going to have a FEMA briefing to see what's going on. But why is she never on the ground? Why is she never touching people's hands and saying, I understand what you're going through. I'm here to help you. He is always the first one in every tragedy, whether it's a natural disaster. He's the one that goes to the funerals of the slain police officers. He's the one that stands with the families of the vets who have been killed. You know, where is she?
Honestly, I think it's because it's not authentic. And I think it's because she just doesn't do well in those one-on-one direct conversations with people, whether they're happy, whether they're sad, whether they're dealing with devastation or the pain of losing a loved one. And you can see that at the various things. I think back after the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, she was not at the dignified transfer of those 13 soldiers coming back, their bodies coming home to their grieving families. And so my concern is, if she were to win this presidential election, you're going to see 4 more years of this where she's going to be in this cocoon, not really available to the American people, and they'll come out with press statements, or she might give a speech here or there, but you really won't be able to see her. Contrast that with Donald Trump. You said it right. When these crises come up, he's always there to engage people, regardless of what you think about him, regardless of the politics. He's there to directly engage with Americans.
Let me build on that for a second. We just had a conversation about young men, especially Gen Z young men, gravitating toward the Republican Party, gravitating toward conservatism. You bring up the leadership issue, the ability to be there. Is that part of it? Are they looking at the models of leadership in America right now and making decisions about who they want to be and what path they want to go down? Is that why we're seeing that shift, do you think?
I think so. I think you're seeing several things. I think, one, people are comparing the two economies, the Trump economy versus the Biden-Harris economy. they know that the Trump economy was significantly better. They're looking at crime, understanding that not only was it better under Donald Trump, but now you have municipalities and states that aren't even reporting their crime data to the FBI, something that had to be found out and brought out. They're looking at border security issues, but then they also are looking at the mantle of leadership. We have seen the world under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, where you have people who are supposed to be in charge, but you never see them. They are not actually taking the mantle that a president/vice president has to lead the country and the world. All of that is gone. You have what's happening in the Middle East right now, but also this ongoing conflict in Ukraine with no end in sight.
Right.
And what the Democrats will say, especially Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, is we're going to do more investment. We're going to provide more resources.
Right.
But nothing ever changes. And I think men, especially young men, are seeing this and they're rejecting it. And they've lived under 2 presidential administrations. And so they've essentially taken the Pepsi Taste Challenge on this.
Yes.
Oh, that's
and they're saying Donald Trump was better.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you want to see young men enthusiasm, watch them chant for Trump when he shows up at the Georgia-Bama game over the weekend.
Such a
It
good
was
point.
incredible when Trump's out there throwing popcorn with Kid Rock to all the young 18-year-old college kids. So, Congressman, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Good to see you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right.